Namaskar everyone, welcome to Desi Talk. I am your host, Srishti Prabha, the managing editor at India Currents, and I'm waiting for Yashu to join us. That is my co-host. She'll tell you a little bit more about herself. Today's video is on Desi fruits and foods and how to utilize them. So here we go. We got Yashu, so let me add her. Alright, I can pin that.
Oh my goodness, did we just connect?
Oh, this was a flawless entry. There you go. Hey.
Oh my gosh, this would never happen.
I know. I don't know why, but I'm very happy. Hey, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Good. It's nice and sunny out here. Perfect weather for all of my fruits and vegetables that are growing on my porch, but they need a lot of water. Lots and lots of water.
I kind of just killed everything. I don't have a green thumb.
It's nicer when you have friends to help you with. Yeah. Okay, so yes, we're on Desi Talk. I am Srishti Prabha, your managing editor, the managing editor at India Currents, as I mentioned before, and my co-host is...
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Yashu Rao. I am a plus-size model and confidence coach, and of course, founder and CEO of Air Studios Fashion Entertainment Productions, and happy Yashu. What's up, everyone? I am excited for today because this is a topic that is very near and dear to me. Okay, I have to say, today we are talking about Desi fruits and vegetables, and we actually have an amazing guest speaker who is not only a scientist who looks into different fruits and vegetables, but also is an avid cook. Okay, so I'm super excited. But before I go into the bio and we bring Neil on, I did want to take a minute to ask you, Srishti, Desi fruits and vegetables. Are you one of those people who used to eat Desi vegetables, or were you just no, I eat only carrots, mom?
No, I love my So I was the opposite. So I have a brother, a younger brother, and him and I were totally different because I was obsessed with Indian food. I'd eat anything. I love vegetables. I actually didn't even really like meat. I loved all the vegetables and all the vegetables and the Indian spices. And my brother, on the other hand, he hated it. So he would at the dinner table procrastinate eating, and my food would be gone, and we would sit at the table for another hour trying to get him to eat his food. So I don't really know how you develop a palate for, Desi fruits and veggies and Indian food, but I loved it. So what do you have something that you specifically like that's a Desi food, fruit, vegetable item?
For sure. And I've mentioned this on our previous lives before, but my father, he used to grow a lot of Desi vegetables, right? So of those is the Indian cucumber, which is that yellow round cucumber, which is one of my most favorite. So many dishes you can make with it. And then also Loki, which is snake gourd.
I love Loki, yeah.
So good. And then when it comes to fruits, of course, mangoes, right? As well as, I don't know if gooseberries are a fruit or vegetable. That's a question for Neil. But gooseberries are very specific in my family. It was something that was very close to my paternal grandparents' side. So my mom used to tell a story about gooseberries, and she used to feed us gooseberry achar and stuff like that. I saw this video today on Instagram of this guy who took gooseberries. And for those of you how many of you have had gooseberries, go ahead and drop a comment below. But Srishti, have you ever had a gooseberry before?
Yeah.
They're sour as hell.
Also tamarind. Those are two things that I feel are very specific to Indian food. Gooseberries and tamarind. You will see them in chutney form. You'll see them in dishes. Sorry, I know I cut you off, but it just made me think of those two. Those two things are so specific that I feel I don't see it in other foods, but I was so used to eating it growing up and not really thinking too much about it.
Absolutely. But with gooseberries, you know how sour they are, right? Amla is so sour. This person like this Instagram video was like this white dude. He like cut up gooseberries, okay, and these are like the
He
raw
just like
fresh.
ate it raw?
He like ate it raw and he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm excited. We're gonna make dessert with this." Whoops. I'm sorry. We're gonna make dessert with this. So he like made a tart with like, just like a normal ass tart, and then he cut the gooseberries, tossed it in like sugar and honey, and like put it on top of the tart. And I just cringed. My heart dropped. And I was like, that must like, and he acted so well for the video too. He was like, and I'm like, mm.
Maybe it was good. I mean, I can't imagine, like, I've never had a gooseberry raw with sugar. So I don't know what that would taste like.
Well, Neil might be the expert to
Yeah.
ask today. So why don't we go ahead and get Neil on? So while you go ahead and technologically get him on, I will go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. His name is Nagarajan Rajgopal, but he goes by Neil because it's easier. Okay. Neil got his bachelor's in India. He's from Tamil Nadu, Chennai, India. And then he came here to the United States to do his master's and now PhD in material science engineering. And he specializes in like biological systems and stuff. I always make fun of him that he's the reason we have mosquitoes down here. He does research on mosquitoes and everything. But in addition to that, he's super involved in government here at University of Florida. He is part of University of Florida organizations, graduate senator, UF student government. And above all of that, he is an amazing cook and a student of the culinary arts. So truly an honor to have you here, Neil. And I know you and I have done this before where we talked about so many different fruits, but this is my amazing co-host, Srishti with
Hey,
Yashu.
yeah. Hi, I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you
We're
guys
gonna learn.
for thank you for calling me live in the India Currents. So I'm like more than happy to share some things I know. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and I'll try answering as much as I can.
So she said you are interested in the culinary arts. So does that mean, so I think we need to clarify because your background isn't specifically in cooking, but you seem to be a connoisseur of things like fruits and vegetables and cooking and the science behind it. So tell us a little bit more about how your interests began and like what are you actually pursuing in these areas?
Well, so kind of like I didn't really start cooking until like kind of moved out, so not until my 20s, like probably. But I always grew up with my grandmom and like on my mom's side. So my maternal grandmother is like an amazing cook. So it was more by observation, and my mom is also an amazing cook. So it was more of the observation and the kind of the intricacies and certain things like what you need to do to get that taste, to get that factor. So those things are the ones which kind of push me into cooking. And then
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Were you allowed into the kitchen as like a male? Like was that something, so your family was okay with
Yeah.
like you coming and learning as a young
Yeah,
boy?
and
Okay.
then like also like because I was growing up with my grandparents like when I was an undergrad, so weekends like whenever I had time I would just go and cook for the whole family because my grandmom was a very typical South Indian Tamil woman, so she would just eat like the regular food and stuff, and like I would like it's more spicy with a lot of spices, like a lot of like Mughlai Kashmiri cuisine and stuff, and then like I would try to replicate reading or looking into shows and TV and stuff. So, kind of like I completely had the freedom to go inside the kitchen and just whip up a meal for 3, 4 people. So I was like not ostracized or like I was not prevented ever from going into the kitchen. And it was never like, oh, it's like kind of like not a guy's job to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that way, kind
Mm-hmm.
of, it was a little bit of a liberal upbringing. So I always enjoyed cooking. So and then, like once I started here, I picked up my interest in baking and stuff, and then started other stuff like trying out different cuisines and stuff. I started off basically with South Indian. I would still say like my forte is South Indian, but I do really cook other cuisines as well.
You have to try his pesto. Like, he does the full authentic, like, he has the mortar pestle. He
Yeah,
will
he's
take the
crushing it.
basil
Oh
Yeah.
my
and he
God.
will grind that. Oh
I
my
was
goodness, like,
I was watching, I think,
amazing.
like not a chef's table. I can't remember. It was one of those cooking shows on Netflix. But the lady was like this old Italian woman, and she was like, the only great way to make a pesto is in a big mortar and pestle. And I was like, who can find a big mortar pestle like this big to like make pesto? But sounds like you were doing it, so that's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's a reason behind why you don't want to use a mechanical blender. The reason is like basil, like when you take, for example, in a pesto, it's kind of like a very delicate herb. So you like kind of like when you apply the heat, when you do it in a mechanical blender, it's gonna kind of like evaporate some of the oils,
Hmm.
and there's gonna be a loss in taste, and there's like gonna be chemical reactions because of the heat. So you don't get the
Right.
whole flavor like out of the basil, and
Hmm.
that's a complete different level of like flavor and aroma
Hmm.
which comes when you use a mortar and pestle. Yes, it's kind of like a tedious
No,
job
I
which you
think
need to do.
Indian people know this because everything, all the spices you grind by hand. This is not like new information. It's just funny that like of course, I'm not really well informed on like what Italian cooking is, but it's the same, right? So like I'll see my mom crush like spices by hand and then put it in a choka type thing. So let's talk a little bit about that. Not spices specifically, but I want to talk about like why we're even addressing eating like Indian fruits and vegetables and that whole sphere of things. And part of that is your health, right? Like eating those things has a specific impact on your gut biome. And when you eat the foods of like your ancestors, your gut biome is equipped to eat those things. And that's why, I don't even know if I can be mad, and you guys are chime in on this. Can you be mad at somebody for saying Indian food is too spicy or it's not like something their stomach can handle? Like what are your thoughts on that? I know it's a controversial thing to say. Yes.
I personally cannot handle spice. And Neil knows this. I can't. I see we have a comment here. What is pesto? Pesto, Neil, can you give us like a quick, like, what's pesto so we can answer our audience here real quick?
So pesto is kind of an Italian sauce which they add to the pasta. So it's made of basil, pine nuts, olive oil, and
Garlic, I think.
garlic, and also basil, and parmesan,
And
like
Parmesan
parmigiano
cheese, yeah.
reggiano, the authentic one. So it's kind of a sauce which you add it to pasta.
Got it. So coming back here, sorry, Srishti, I definitely wanted to, and for those of you who are tapping in, be sure to comment below, ask your questions, and I've actually got a fun game planned for the both of us,
Ooh, oh, I
that,
like that.
yes, that we're going to do shortly, and of course we want our audience to participate. But coming back to Srishti's question, Neil, go ahead.
So spice palette is something which is more, I would say, environmental than genetic one. It's just like how you're used to it, rather than like tolerate. Like I can't tolerate spices. Like my home, like back growing up, like we had a very very subtle spice palette back home, and then like after coming here and being here for 4 years, when I went back home for the first time, I couldn't even handle that spice palette. So it's more like an environmental kind of a thing. And also the gut biome, basically, the flora, which are the bacteria, is kind of very dependent on where you live. So it completely changes, and all you need is just 3 months. Like that's
Mm.
how much you need for the complete gut biome, the microbiome of your gut to completely change. So basically, and that's the reason why they say like always eat locally, source your food locally. It shouldn't be more than like a couple of miles from where it's grown and stuff like that. So I would say kind of like it really doesn't matter what you eat and what you not eat, what kind of fruits and vegetables you eat. So basically, eat something which grows locally because your gut biome is kind of like adapted to the local environment you're living in.
But that's almost impossible because a lot of our groceries aren't coming from like local sources, especially some of the things that we're talking about, like Indian foods that we make, like you're not going to get that locally sourced. It's going to be from kind of far away. So
Well,
What are you?
so most
Yeah.
of the Indian fruits and vegetables are like, especially if you live in California and Florida, they're grown locally, or like from the Caribbean. They're not like flown all the way across the globe. So it's like just try eating as much as locally as possible. So it's kind of like healthy, and also it protects the environment in a lot of different ways. Like it saves the environment, like you're going greener, like you're cutting down carbon emissions, and like you're healthier, you don't waste resources. So that's the healthiest way to live. Like eat locally, grow food if you can, and then try doing that. Yeah, most of the food what we get in the US comes from different places, like from the Caribbean islands, from Central and South America, and different places. But I'm just saying, like, that's the ideal way of living, which a lot of people do in a community farming, or like they have communes and stuff. I'm not saying it's like kind of that's what you need to do, because it's highly impossible in the current living world to get doing that. But like, to answer your question, as much as you eat locally, it's good for you, it's good for the earth, it's good for the planet, it's good for everyone around.
And this actually brings me to our game. That was a perfect segue. I don't even know how we planned that. And Srishti does not even know what we're playing.
I don't know
So
what
I'm
it is.
excited. Today we are going to play true or false, okay? So the question is, I'm going to read out a bunch of Desi fruits, okay? Or what we associate as Desi fruits. And our myth buster Neil here is going to tell us if this fruit is truly from India or not.
Ooh.
And you will be surprised
I like
to
this
find
game.
out.
Yeah,
Right?
all right.
And we would love for our audience to participate. If you think the fruit is from India, it is a native Indian fruit, go ahead and drop a thumbs up in there, a heart emoji, give us something. If you don't think it is from India or native to India or any of the Desi countries, not specifically India, but any of those Desi countries, go ahead and drop a thumbs down or a sad face so we know that that one is not native to our Desi countries, okay? You ready to play, Srishti?
I'm ready.
You ready, Neil?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's go ahead and start with, of course, the first, the obvious, the mango. Native or not native?
Well, what species of mango are we talking about? Because there's native species that are from India or wherever, and then there's some from elsewhere. Are we saying like where did it originate?
So I think like a confusing species with cultivars, like species is gonna be a single thing, and like the different varieties are actually cultivars of the same species. So there are like 1,000 varieties of mango, but the mango is a single species, which like the edible mango, it's like Mangifera. Okay, fine. If I give the
No, it's
specific
genus, species. That's two things. So the
Yeah, so
species will
Mangifera,
change, right? And the genus will
no.
stay the same.
So I don't want to give it because, like, I mean, if you want me to give the answer, I can just go ahead and give. Yeah, mangoes are absolutely native to India, and that's why the scientific name, like, which has the genus and the species name. So the genus is Mangifera, and then the species is Indica, which means it's from India. Sorry. So it's Mangifera indica. So mangoes are absolutely native to India, and so that particular species has like thousands of cultivars, which give different varieties of fruit. Which was bred by selective breeding, which means like you take a desired trait and like, oh yeah, like this particular mango was like kind of tasty, so I'm gonna plant the seed, and then like I grow out, and then it's gonna be like more mangoes and more seeds, more plants. Yeah, so mangoes are native to India.
Okay, you learn something every day. Awesome.
So that was a good one. Hopefully there won't be too many of those kind of confusing ones, but if there are, again, we want to make sure our audience is participating as well, so be sure to drop it in the comments, all right, guys? The next one that we have on the list is jackfruit. Native or not native?
I don't know. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say it is native.
Well, it is native to India. So the term jackfruit is actually from the Malayalam term chakka, which means jackfruit. So jackfruits are native to India.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'm learning a lot.
I mean, they're native to a broader region, ranging the Indo-Malaya region. So technically, India is home. Yes.
Okay.
We ready for the next one? Again, we want our audience to participate. Go ahead and drop the love if you think it is native or not, okay? The next one on my list, papaya. Papaya. I'm going to say, my uncle used to grow a lot of papaya. I'm going to say native.
Oh my God, I don't know. I know South American countries use a lot of papaya as well, so I'm gonna say no.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Papayas are native to South America, so it's called Carica papaya, and then they are from South America.
All right, we got one.
So through colonization, is that how we got papaya in
Yeah.
India?
We got a lot of things like one is like potatoes. Like there's literally like no like family which would never eat potato, and like potatoes are like a huge part of like Indian wedding feasts and like
Yeah,
any
aloo
feast.
is everything, man. Aloo
Yeah,
is everything.
but they are not native to India too. Your chili peppers are not native to India. Like India is one of the top growers of chili peppers, and chili peppers are not native to India. Chili peppers are native to Central and South America. Potatoes are native to Central and South America. Tomatoes are not native to India.
Are you giving us all the answers? Are we
So
going ahead?
these are the main ones which we use, and like these are like kind of very synonymous with Indian cuisine. Like chili peppers, like spicy food. No, chili peppers are New World. They are not from the Old World, so they are basically.
How about onions? Are onions native?
Onions are native. Onions have to grow.
Because, like in the Desi cuisine, for those of you who may not know, the Holy Trinity. Okay, the Holy Trinity.
Ginger, onion. Garlic, ginger, onion.
Garlic, ginger, onion. Sometimes tomato got thrown in there too.
Tomato, yeah.
Okay, so I feel like half the list is like just getting out of my hands. I feel my heart is breaking right now. But let's get back to fruit. Okay, the next one I have on my list, guava, which is my, oh my God, favorite.
I'm going to say yes, because guava is also my favorite.
Native. That motherfucker is, sorry. That is native.
Well,
it's native. No.
Does anyone know what guava is in Spanish?
Oh God, it's from, I knew it was going to be from South America. I don't know what it is.
It's from Central America, like Mexico, South America-ish, like guava. It's guava is not from India. Guava is from Central and South America.
Oh man,
my childhood has been ruined.
Can you like
this game?
think about another very common fruit, which
pomegranate.
Pomegranate is more like northern plains, like Indian subcontinent, kind of like.
So that is Indian.
Yeah, it is Indian, kind of like Afghanistan, Iran, and then northern India, yes.
Oh gosh, now I'm scared to play this game.
I know, I feel like I'm getting all these wrong and it's stressing me out.
How about apples? Because I know Kashmir apples are super famous.
Yeah, apples are kind of like they grow up north, very northern, like kind of like all these fruits are like through selective breeding, like hundreds of years ago. Your watermelons were not this big; they were like super small and inedible. Apples were like from crab apples, which are like sour and small.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's mostly temperate zone. Yeah, so kind of like it's yes and a no. So,
how about coconuts?
Coconuts are native, and they're not fruits. They're technically biologically a fruit.
How about gooseberries?
Okay.
Gooseberries.
So gooseberries, like technically, like the one we eat in India called the Indian gooseberries, because there's a fruit which is technically sweet, which is used in European countries, which is called the gooseberry. So the Indian gooseberry is biologically a fruit, but it's not sweet. It's sour and astringent. But I don't know if you have tried it. Like after eating a raw piece of gooseberry, when you drink water, it's like kind of the miracle fruit. Your mouth's gonna taste sweeter.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things about like gooseberries. So watermelons are not native to India. They're from Africa. Pineapples are not from India. Pineapples are from Central and South America. So any of the fruits you want to know if they are.
How about the sugar apple or those like
apple,
the custard apple.
Sitafal,
yeah.
South America.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How about
This is
lychee?
mind blowing. Lychee
Sorry?
is not. No,
Lychee
lychee
is
is not.
Chinese, like lychee
Yeah,
is temperate
Chinese.
regions like Asia, kind of like now they grow in India, but like they're not native to India.
I feel like a lot of the native things were also things like lots of spice seeds, right? Like mustard, maybe.
Yeah, more like spices, like fruits. Like being a
Yeah.
tropical country, we do have diversity of fruits, but kind of like we don't grow them
Sapota?
anymore. Supporters are from South America. Supporters, yeah. Central America,
You're
South.
ruining her life right now, man.
I can't. I can't do this anymore. I'm dropping off the flight.
So Neil, you seem to know a lot about exactly where all these things have originated. Did you like do research on it, or like how are you so knowledgeable on like where all these things are coming from, originating from?
Well, I mean, I kind of like really like history, and then kind of like I do read a lot about food when I'm reading about it. Like, okay, so how did this cuisine evolve? And then like so technically, the Indian cuisine itself has been like evolving with like so many things. Like we don't even know like what Indian people ate like during like be it the Vedic period or the Sangam period or like
Mm-hmm.
and then like your naan is not Indian. It's like it was brought by Central Asian
British.
people. Your
Oh.
gulab jamuns are not Indian. Your jalebis are not Indian. Biryani is not Indian. It's all like after the advent of the Mughals
Afghani,
and
yeah.
the Central Asian and
I,
the Turkic people, the Persian and the Turkic
the
people, like
Mughal
when they
Empire
came over
time,
Mughal. No, even before the Mughal Empire,
even
we had a
before
lot of
that.
Central Asian Muslim invaders. Like when they came and started setting up, it started kind of like there was a fusion of your cuisines and stuff. So
So
yeah,
then,
like
is there any
and
like,
then
would roti be part of like what you think potentially could have been like from Vedic
It
times, or is
it
like,
might have been because like Harappan civilization is like kind of pre um Vedic, I guess. Yeah, it's pre-Vedic before the Aryan invasion. If you go
hmm
by the history books, like you found rice, so rice was more like a staple food. But like barley, couple of millets, and wheat are actually mentioned in the Yajurveda. So
mm,
people might have eaten, but like the introduction of chapatis and rotis to South India actually happened during World War One and World War Two when food was rationed and rice was kind of uh, um, not in surplus. So they brought in wheat, which was growing in surplus, and that's how rotis and puris and chapatis got introduced to South India.
Wait,
wow,
is
yeah.
rice native or not? Because at this point
Rice,
my heart's
rice
broken.
is native. The rice itself, the etymology of Orisa sativa, which is like the scientific name, Orisa and rice is from the Tamil Arisi. So it's kind of native
Okay.
to India. It's like it's a huge, kind of like rice is again. There are different like you had different domestication centers, like one in China, one in India, one in the Southeast Asian countries. So, but still, it's native to the whole broad region of India, China, Indochina,
Mm.
and Southeast Asia.
How about, I think, well, we have you here. There's two things that I kind of, and I always talk in twos. I can't ask one question at a time. I want to talk about one tamarind because I know Srishti had mentioned tamarind. So I want to know, first of all, is that a fruit? Is that a vegetable? Is that native? Those
It's
are, okay,
true.
that's for that.
This native. So tamarind itself is from Arabic slash Persian, I think. It actually translates to Tamar-i-Ind, which means dates of India. So
Mm.
they are native. Tamarind is again, it's native to India, but some people say it's also native to Africa. So it's one of these tropical regions. So a lot of these are kind of controversial. We don't know the definitive origin, locations, or the domestication centers because, like, the rice you eat, the corn you eat, and everything was like through selective breeding was like what we have right
hmm
now. The current form, because like the earlier forms are completely inedible or like completely super small, which were not like what do you call them, which couldn't be used.
Right. I feel like also like it's India especially like so many and a lot of countries that are actually producing a lot of our vegetables and fruits and stuff were colonized for so many years, not just, just through the process of like imperialism, that it is really hard to like probably date back that far and say like this definitely started, pre-Vedic times or whatever. So It's interesting to learn because I mean I always, my brain whenever I think of like India, like Indian food that's been colonized, I go back to like British. I'll be like, oh, like I know that chicken tikka masala is like not a, like that came, after colonization.
It
But
actually was invented in London. It was not even invented
yeah,
in India.
but it's like Indian now, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's like that's exactly the one fact that I know that I can like really point to when I say like this is not Indian food. But if you, I mean, you can like it, and now people in India eat it, so it's I don't know, but so it'll be considered Indian food even in India at this point. But like going back to Mughal times, like you'll see like names of things like sabzi, like Persian people call it sabji, and there'll be like similar kind of like vegetable kind fry type thing, but then we've used sabzi for such a different type of like we just use it for any vegetable, whereas they have a very specific dish that's used. I know that there's this cross of like cultural information, and you're on the silk trade route, so it's gonna be that way, but yeah, it's almost like lost knowledge. We just don't even know what really existed prior. So,
And I actually want to also ask, while we do have Neil here, and again, thank you everyone for tapping in today for this super informative and mind-blowing, honestly, episode of
yeah.
India Turn, Desi Fruits and Vegetables. Neil, I wanted to ask you about Desi greens. Like gongura, for example, is
Ooh.
from my state in South India, really huge in Andhra. So I definitely want to ask about different greens, palak, and then you also have like sag, right? Like with like mustard greens. And then you also have like all these other
Also cilantro, right? Like dhania, like I've always wondered because the type of dhania my mom will always say that she would get in India is very different from what she gets here, which is like the Central South American version. So is that a different? Sorry, I know you were already asking like five
Cilantro
questions.
is kind of native to a whole diverse region, starting from the Mediterranean to Southwest Asia to Southern Asia to Southeast Asia. So it's just like different cultivars, like they just like breed the ones which kind of like the leaves are large, like which have less flavor. So basically most of the fruits and vegetables and herbs are bred for like longer shelf lives. So they kind of like miss out on the flavors and stuff. It's just like a different cultivar. So yeah, they're like kind of.
But when it comes to like gongura and stuff like that, any fun facts about those Indian greens?
Yeah, gum
Or
is
not
actually
Indian, but
kind of
Desi
closely
greens.
related to hemp, which is marijuana. It's just a kind of like a different, kind of very closely related. It's in the same family. So there are like hundreds of varieties of greens, like which grow different like states and stuff, and they use it for different cuisines. So palak is like a generic thing. Like the spinach what we get is not even like the palak what you get in India, and saag is like mustard greens which they can use. And apart from that, kind of like every state has its own cuisine, and like at least as far as like there are like 20-30 varieties which can be used in different ways of cooking. And greens are like obviously healthy. They have like high iron content, so they're really good for you. And they have tons.
And greens are huge, especially from where I'm from, specifically on my mom's side. They used to have very specific greens that even throughout the state of Andhra, like some people wouldn't even hear. Like my dad never knew what like poigantaku was, right? And it would be like these very specific ones which are grown only, in my mom's like area. So I feel like with greens, there's so much more diversity when it comes to.
Or is it cultivars? Because I didn't even know this was a term until this live. So I'm learning.
I guess they're cultivars.
Yeah.
I guess they're cultivars, and they're just like different variations of maybe like one father mother set of greens or something.
Because that's like how mango is too, right? Because they'll say like, oh, like the mango from this region is like sweeter and better, and then they'll be like, so it's the same, I guess, the same species of thing, but like cultivated in different ways.
For sure.
Correct us if we're wrong.
Fun story with the whole the gongura thing. One of my aunties was growing gongura, and then her neighbors called the cops because they thought she was growing weed.
It's kind of like I take back. Actually, they're not like kind of the same family. Kind of like like they go way back. So cannabis is like Rosaceae, and then gongura is Malvaceae. So Yeah, I just take that back. But then the leaf similarity is what I wanted to actually say. It's kind of
Right.
very
I think the
simple.
structure, they looked the freaking same. I remember when I used to go, because my dad would try to help me, would take me to go like pick the leaves, which by the way, they have super sharp thorns. Just put that out there. I would just be like, in high school, especially when I like first found out weed was a thing, I was just like, oh, like what's my
You're
dad?
like,
Is this
my
my dad's
dad's
side
growing
hustle?
weed at home.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, is this his side hustle? Like what?
That's so funny.
But thank you so much, Neil, for dropping all of this amazing knowledge on us. I literally, at this point, my heart is just like inside out. So Srishti, you want to close us out? Because I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm emotionally okay right now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Neil. This was really informative. I didn't even know that. I thought it was like species differences, but it's good to learn that it's actually just changing in cultivation styles and practices that gives us all these different varieties of the same thing. That's really new information to me because I did not know. And then obviously learning that like all these things that we thought may or may not be native to India, are not. I guess I should. This is why I'm saying a lot of the stuff we're getting is not domestic. So that's why we just assume some of the things are really domestic and they might not be. So, like Neil said, go local, get local produce if possible. Um, it helps the environment, but it's also good for your health. Neil, do you have any last words? Did I do a good job of concluding?
Eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. That's all I say. Like my breakfast is literally fruits. So I eat like tons of fruit. So it's healthy. It's like you don't have to take your multivitamin. Just eat them. Uh, they have eat a variety. Eat like a colorful plate. There are like tons of different fruits ranging from all colors, like ranging the whole spectrum of VIBGR. So eat everything. Eat colorful. Eat healthy. Eat a lot of fruits and vegetables.
We
Thank
love
you
our
so much,
vegetables.
Neil.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
And for
Neil.
everyone
Yeah.
who found this episode to be super helpful, be sure to check out the rest of the videos on India.current. Be sure to follow Saumatheya. I went ahead and tagged him in the pin right here. Go ahead and follow Neil. If you have any other questions or anything that you want to find out about food and the world of food, be sure to tap in with him. I go to Neil for any of my recipe questions. He is not only knowledgeable, but he just makes the most amazing freaking food on earth.
Maybe we
So
should have asked Neil a recipe. We didn't. But next time we'll get you on and we'll ask you like one specific recipe to share.
and we should definitely bring Neil back to actually talk about, and this is something interesting for you, Srishti. He talks about the science of jarring. And I know in India or Desi countries, we practice a
Pickling.
very special type of jarring and pickling process, and even the science of the actual jars and how they're made and why their lids are shaped the way they're made. So that's all really super interesting stuff as well that Neil is super, super knowledgeable about. So we'll definitely tap in with Neil again in the future, especially if you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Neil, again. And I'll see you guys all next week.
Good to hear.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.